So today's workshop is a little bit in flux. So we realized today we're working on market validation, but we realized that many of the things that we were going to talk about you've already done when you talked about lean startup or when you talked about metrics. So we're going to kind of breeze through this part of the presentation, and then Richard is going to give you some hands-on tools that you can use. And then the output of today is that you're going to design your experiments that you want to run to validate, maybe validating to yourselves that you've made some right decisions about your business, maybe validating to investors or mentors about some of the kind of critical assumptions you've made about your business, or maybe validating to customers that your product does what you claim that it can do. So before we get started, I also wanted to introduce a guest that we have with us today, which is Esther, sitting in that corner. So Esther is an anthropologist who's doing a research project about how do IoT startups think about ethics when they're developing their business. So that might be ethics about data, privacy, or other things. I'm sure she'll be happy to talk to you. So if you have a couple minutes later on today, I'm sure she'll be interested to grab a quick chat with you, if that's okay. Okay, so let's jump into what we're doing today. It's more or less the usual format that we're doing. So we'll have a presentation. Mine will be very quick. Richard's will be a bit longer. Richard, does it work if yours goes to about 10:30?
Oh yeah, sure.
And then we're going to do the exercises. The exercise today is just one, and it's a simple one, which is for you to design your experiment. Then we'll do some of the usual coaching that we normally do, and then we'll arrange some of the follow-ups with your mentors for the next week. So the output of today is this experiment template. So what we want you guys to do really today is think about what are the critical assumptions that you're making in your business. So imagine that you're transported 1 year or 2 years into the future and your startup failed, which hopefully doesn't happen. What would be if you looked back, what would be the assumptions you made that you got wrong that led to the downfall? So these are the assumptions that are like critical to the survival and success of your business. So we're not talking about features or little strategies, but really like the fundamentals. So then you can make a hypothesis about these key assumptions. You can think about the process you're going to use, and that's where you can think about some of the tools that Richard is going to share with you. And then we're going to set some criteria, some success criteria about what will success look like to validate that hypothesis. So I think Richard's drawing up on the board as well what some of the teams are for today. So we've been doing this kind of paired mentoring, and I hope that it's proving useful. So maybe just think about if the team that you're paired with is the right team for you. If there's another team you think that you're going to be kind of doing something similar with, you can come and talk to us, and maybe we can move it around to make it fit. But I tried to make it people who might be validating the same kinds of things. Okay, so any questions what we're doing today, or so far so good? Cool. So as I say, I think we can breeze through our presentation, and actually I'll maybe just give the summary here, and if you have any questions, we can have a little discussion. So when you're doing market validation, well, okay, let's set the context of where you guys are with your projects. So you came into the program, you had an outline for your startup, you went and you talked to customers, you did your customer development, and now you've maybe tweaked what you're doing, you've readjusted your plans. So now's the time for you to validate if that readjusted company that you've come up with is the right one. So when you go into this market validation, there's 5 principles for you to think about. The first is to challenge your riskiest assumptions first. So an example here is the Segway. You guys have seen the Segway, the thing that we were riding around on. What happened with them is that they were thinking about all the details of like where should we launch first, how many products should we launch at once. But the biggest critical assumption is, will people be allowed to use it on the roads? And that was something that they never really figured out before their launch. And in the end, governments have said that you can't use Segways on the road, and that's why it hasn't become this huge product that they thought it would be. So think about what are these critical assumptions. They might be legal, political, they might be business ones or customer ones. Think about what are the biggest assumptions you're taking that could undermine what you're doing. In order to do that, you should build only what you need to learn, and I think that message has probably come across again and again in your lean startup work. So that's about, you don't necessarily need to build your whole product, but how do you build some kind of facade just to test the thing that you want to test. Number 3 is be responsive to the data, so be prepared. Don't just run an experiment thinking that you're here just to gather some nice numbers to support what you're already doing. Be prepared to learn from it and to adjust your business accordingly. Number 4, make it mutually beneficial. So these early adopters who are using your product are actually also kind of like a community that's going to become your key advocates, right? As you get over time, these people, the very first users you're using now, are going to be hopefully the people who will be advocating it to their friends and helping you build a business. So how do you create a great experience for them, and how do you create mutual benefits for them over time? So we can think about that in your experiment template as well. And number 5 is measure with a purpose. So there's the difference between actionable metrics and vanity metrics. Vanity metrics are nice because they make us feel good, and they might be nice to show to investors about how many downloads you've got. But really thinking about what are the actionable metrics, what are the ones that have a difference on how your business runs, and understanding from those metrics what the relationships between the metric and the output is, so that you can change your business accordingly. So again, yeah.
Can you explain again number 3, please?
Yeah. So this one was be responsive to the data. So the example here is sometimes we might tell ourselves that we're running an experiment, but really we're just looking to kind of validate what we're already doing. We're just looking to support it, but what we're encouraging you to do here is be open to challenging what you're already doing. You know, many of you guys have, or maybe not Gallagher, but others have businesses that are already running, and it might be tempting to just kind of like look for support for what you're already doing. So the challenge here is to really, by setting a hypothesis, by setting a clean experiment, by setting criteria, you're really like putting it all out there to say, okay, if this doesn't work, then I'm going to have to take some other steps. Or I'm A/B testing these 2 things, and I will make a decision about doing a different one.
Thank you.
Okay, so these are kind of high-level principles, and I think many of them will have been covered already, or maybe they're things that you know about already. So I'm going to hand over to Richard, but do you guys have any questions in general about validating your business? Okay, I'm sure we'll get into some more later. Okay, so Richard, I'll hand over to you.
Okay. I have a loud voice. So. Harry, you got the clicker?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no. All right, so so as Harry already explained, we discussed yesterday about this workshop on market validation, but I realized that a lot of the stuff that was in there we already had done before, and we already talked about experiments in the weeklies. So I thought maybe let's do a fast forward and go talk about some of the tools that we've been talking about already for 2 or 3 times, but we haven't been able to cover them all. So what I did for today is to make a sub-selection of, well, all the tools that I know, thinking of all the 8 startups we have here, and thinking of how we can use these tools to use them to run experiments. I know a lot of you guys have been doing qualitative interviews in the first month, talking to people, and we've been sort of talking about doing quantifiable experiments, but we haven't been really getting to doing them, talking a lot about them, but now this is the month of traction development, the build month, so now it's actually the time to really start getting down, hammer them down and start doing them. So, because the question is this, so it's not about growing your business a little bit, but it would be about like can we add a multiplier, like grow it like really fast. And it's not so much about selling or pitching. That could be a side effect of running a validation experiment, but it's more about the learning. So if I put 100 leads in a lead management system, can I actually convert 10 to having a good conversation with this potential customer, and out of these 10, can I convert 2 in really becoming a customer? And validate that. So that's a falsifiable hypothesis. So it's data-driven before we start. So we talked about this yesterday. A lot of you guys have been solving things in their software. As mentioned before, if you haven't been doing that, then you're just losing a lot of your traffic when your funnel is too narrow. So if that isn't fixed yet, you should be onto this and getting it fixed ASAP before getting any traction. If you haven't solved your UX problems in your software yet, any of the validation experiments should ideally not lead to people going to your website and becoming a customer. But you should sort of build a list of people, and when your UX problems are solved, then you invite all those people to become a customer of your platform or whatever. But don't put them in a funnel that is like super narrow, because that's just a lot of waste, right? Okay, we got this, tools and framework, cool. A couple of the tools. So I'll try to, this is just a subset of a couple of tools. I got very enthusiastic yesterday night, thinking about you guys. So I started at 6:30 and I finished at 11. And I thought I'll do something for Harry in 30 minutes. And at 11 o'clock I thought, oh shit, I really have to go home, eat, sleep, that kind of stuff. So I'll try to go over these like really quick and get really down to earth. First of all, a very special one. Forms. This is the most beautifully designed and simplified form that you can have in the startup world. It's one of the most famous startups from the Barcelona ecosystem, and it's a startup that's not stopping at hiring the best people possible. And it's a very special one because today I can announce their new catch. That's a new kick-ass event manager they just hired, and she will start there as of coming Monday. And I know this because it's Esther. So she asked me to announce this today, so you would all be informed at once. And talking about the most excellent startup tools out there is a very good way of announcing this. You want to say something to the group? Now is the moment.
Thank you all. And I hope to see you. I hope you invite me to your demo day. And you have my contact on my phone, and if I can help you, let me know.
Okay. We will.
So, first of all, the no-brainers. This is the stuff everybody of you should already have in their SaaS software thing implemented. If you don't have it today, try to get it in there like tomorrow. Every day that we miss out on these tools being in your software is a day we miss. So, metrics. Been hammering down on this already for a lot of time. You've got to define your key metric, the one leading metric for your startup. So it's not about having Google Analytics, because I know you all got that implemented, but Google Analytics is one big bucket of data. But data without interpretation is not equal to information, and what you need is information to run your startup. So get that one key metric and put them in something like Mixpanel. Mixpanel, for instance, in comparison to Google Analytics, is quite straightforward to create complex metrics, funnels, cohorts, segments. It works cross-channel, so web and app. If you have both, it's perfect because it's integrated. It has an auto-track method based on individual behavior, something that Google Analytics doesn't do because of the nature of Google Analytics. And something we've been talking about in the funnel being very important for your startups is retention, because this shows the happiness of your customers actually coming back and using your product. If we have acquisition, activation, retention, referral and revenue, retention is the most important metric in an early stage startup. So it's very easy, well, relatively easy to set that up in Mixpanel. The only thing you have to do is to make a definition of the action that make an active user if you want to measure daily active users. So for instance, that could be in terms of take a file, so many files sent within the last Y days. So what means active? 1 file a week, 1 file a month, 2 a week, 2 per day, whatever. So you define that, and there's probably an action button that says, okay, send a file now. That button is a JavaScript event, and you just log that JavaScript event within a certain time frame, 2 days, and then boom, you've got your active user. And then the rest is automatic done by Mixpanel. In case of, I know, UpperSafe, obviously to be safe, you have to be on a VPN connection. So you could see how many VPN logons you've got every day, from how many machines, my mobile phone, my iPad, my laptop, in how many days, and that define that as an active user. If somebody pays for your service but forgets to switch on the VPN every day, from my definition, he's not an active user. He's just paying for a service, but he's not using it. Workola, how many projects started in how many months? Maybe a student does a project one time but never comes back. Obviously, a person that never comes back is not a good source to be going to the metric of referrals. So having active users is very important. XVR searches in Y days for Gallagher. So how many searches does somebody do? If they test out your search engine once and they leave it behind, yeah, that's somebody that you can click, that they use your service once, and that is a vanity metric that will always go up. But if they never come back, it's not an active user. And you're only interested in active users and why they are using it. As you're also very interested in the people that use it once and never use it again. I would say that for qualitative interviews, even that part is even more interesting because you'll get more information than from the active user. So, now we know how to do it, so get it done. Great thing about Mixpanel, what I like, it can be used to validate data-driven experiments. So if you have a coupon code that is used to re-engage customers, come back and try to convert them to a paying customer, you can make an A/B variant, and in a very simple graph, it will just give you the results of your A/B test. In a tool such as Mixpanel, you can not only measure stuff, but you can even use notifications. This is also nice for the Frisbit guys. Sorry, you were hidden behind Alvaro. So this is what I like, the sort of making business rules and then being able to send notifications. Also for your automation part, maybe you should have a look in that. Chartbeat is another great tool that helps you focus on a couple of things. It's a bit cluttered, but it's one big dashboard, so you can just swipe in your key metrics and share them. Another great tool to do this is Geckoboard, especially if you work on teams that work remotely and everybody should be on the same page. What Geckoboard does, that it extracts the data from multiple sources, gets them into one big dashboard, and then everybody has a URL and just get one visualization. It is used a lot in call centers as well to put the key metrics on the TV. See how many calls we have, how quick is our response time. But if you have nobody looks into Google Analytics every day. So just get out like one big number and put it on your Geckoboard, and that is your leading metric. Then use Google Analytics once a month to dive into traffic sources. Where are you getting your traffic from? Your campaigns, how are they working? But don't look in Google Analytics every day. It's a very fuzzy kind of metric thing. Another no-brainer for me is heat maps. So where metrics tell you what is happening, heat maps will tell you how a user is interacting with your website. And that's another step in understanding why. Hotjar will do this. It will enable you to check individual recordings. Another alternative that I like a lot is Mouseflow. What you can do with Mouseflow, it sort of stacks the heat maps of people that have certain same characteristics. So how can this be of use? For instance, you can see people that have different screen resolutions. Because maybe you have an action button here, and some people convert, other people don't. Then when using heat maps, you can see, okay, I want to see people that have a screen resolution of 1920 by 1080, or now people that have 1028 by 768. So that's a smaller screen size. And then at the smaller screen size, you see that your action button is actually under the fold. So it's not visible, and that's why it's not converting. When you discover that in a heat map, you go back to Google Analytics, and you see how many people are actually looking at your web page on a very old screen. And that, of course, depends on what is your ideal customer profile. Who are you targeting? Are you targeting young people that have big screens and whatever? Or are you targeting also a mixed kind of audience where also older people with, I don't know, smaller or older screens are also looking at your website? So it gives you more information on how to make your app, how to make your website. Same goes for browsers. Some things don't work in certain browsers. So if you have a lot of people coming with Chrome and something is not working in Chrome, well, a heat map sort of uncovers things that are not working. You can go back to Google Analytics, then check it in the usability lab, and then fix the stuff. So this, for me, is like super essential, should be always on and running and recording. Another one is A/B testing. So the good thing about A/B testing is you don't need a developer to test stuff. So it's just one line of JavaScript code, and with that, the designer or the CEO or the business guy or the marketeer, whoever, can change the little things in the wordings, in the visuals, in the colors, the buttons, stuff, and do A/B tests. Of course, you don't have a lot of traffic yet, but still I would advise you to do it. It's better than having nothing. Alternatives are for optimizing your visual website optimizer, Crazy Egg. Just go on F6S, check which one gives you the highest discount and use that one. Landing pages, it's one of a possible amount of experiments that you can run, but I think for every startup should use landing pages. You're always trying to figure out what kind of message resounds with what kind of audience, and landing pages are a very good way of doing this. So, for instance, on Bounce, I think there's a 6-month free trial or something like that on F6s. You can also use Instapages, Lead Pages, but I think Unbounce gives the highest discount, so obviously for me that's again a no-brainer being a startup. These landing pages are very easy to build, so as you can see they have drag and drop interfaces, so you don't need a designer. If you have a designer, that's even better, because they're better at sort of visualizing stuff and putting it in there, but Alvaro can do it. You know, if you know how to use a computer, you can make a landing page. Call to action in a landing page can be anything. So it could be a sign up for a newsletter you have, a webinar, a meetup, a white paper download, scheduling a Skype call, watching a video, any call to action that you want to measure in your experiment, right? The more advanced landing pages can be dynamic depending on interactions on the website. That is something new that I discovered yesterday in Optimize Me. I like it a lot, so I'd like to see somebody implement this and trying this out. So depending on who is visiting your website, you can launch a different message. Depending if it's a different browser, different screen resolution, scroll actions. You see people go down looking for something because they're up and down. If there's a lot of scroll actions, you launch a pop-up saying, need any help? Boom, contact me on chat, whatever. Could be time spent on this page, if they're a return visitor or not. So there's different triggers that you can use to launch events. It's a very powerful tool. I like it a lot, so let's give it a try. Like I say, alternatives are Instapages. When I decide on which tool to use, what I check, apart from the pricing, which is obvious, is the type of integrations that tools have. What I do when I apply growth hacks, I try to chain up different tools together. So if I need to use Drip for email campaign, and Drip is already integrated with Instapages in a very native way, I prefer to use Instapages for my landing pages. So depending on what kind of chain you build, you end up with certain tools. Then there's a bunch of other tools depending on the startup that you're running. So if you're a B2B and your focus is on small, medium enterprises, Deployev, Cyber is key, then stop using spreadsheets to collect your leads, but use something like a lead management system, CRM system. Use Pipedrive. Salesforce is too expensive. It has a cluttered interface. It's a shitty product. Was a startup once and it's now a corporate. Pipedrive is straightforward for customers that only fit your funnel in one way. So it's going from left to right. It's a very visual way. You were actually scouted using Pipedrive. It's very visual and it's dirt cheap. Another one, if you have like people that are on the road, not always in the office, and you need like a mobile app where they can look for customers, do something really quick, see how to drive to a customer, a better alternative would be Base. It's a bit more expensive, but it's a very, very good UI, and lots of integrations, more than Pipedrive. Email marketing. Email marketing, then I'm not talking about using Gmail to email this one customer or this one partner, like this one-to-one kind of emailing. I'm talking about doing something massive, where it looks like you are sending one email to one person, but you're doing this with 1,000 customers at the same time. So the way you were scouted, we use QuickMail because we were engaging with 1,000 startups in 3 months with only a couple of people. That's impossible to do if we would be emailing you once, because as you know, you receive one email, then you receive a second email saying, hey, just a reminder to see if you saw my email. That was actually not me or Matt doing that. Matt never existed. So you were emailed by Matt. Matt is he's not a live person. Matt is QuickMail. So when you were thinking you were talking to this person, Matt, and when you were on the Skype call and you were talking to somebody else, to me or to Angel, that was because Matt is not existing. And I advise you, if you're in B2B, to do the same thing. So there was a group of people working behind this kind of Matt kind of guy, and you received a lot of emails, but this email chain stops when you responded. That's a growth hack trick that we use. It's called drip campaigns. And they stop when you respond, and that's when you went into our Pipedrive system, which was our visual, more CRM kind of system. That's when we first had Skype call with you guys. So I'll explain a bit more later on. Another great alternative, also because it has a lot more integrations, is Reply. Research a bit when you use tools, check reviews, pricing integrations, and give it a test run for a day, and then choose the tool you like most. Some of these tools, like Reply, are connected to databases in the US, so they can also be used to find leads very easily. So if your target market is the US market, then also check these kind of lead generation tools for the market or the kind of leads that they can generate for you guys. Drip is another email drip campaign focused tool, but it's very much integrated with the lead pages, landing pages. So if you end up using that one for some kind of reason, then Drip would be your choice. And of course, most of you have this. This is MailChimp. It's very good. It's an easy setup, and for $10 you get the Pro version. The good thing about the Pro version is that it has also this drip campaign feature. Obviously, MailChimp is a very different thing from QuickMail. QuickMail is where you sort of pretend to be this one person that's reaching out. So somebody's not responding, you send your second mail, not responding, you send your third mail. MailChimp is this mass email to everybody. It's not customized to one person, right? So it's like newsletter like. I do use MailChimp to send like the plain kind of text email that still looks like it's me sending something. Also there's a transactional component called Mandrill. Mandrill is comparable to MailChimp, but it triggers based on something that is happening in your platform. So if somebody creates a sign up, then it sends a welcome email with your password, whatever. Alternative for a Mandrill that is now integrated in MailChimp is SendGrid. If you want to know anything about SendGrid, then ask Nicolas because he's using it for no VPN, right? Prospecting. So apart from generating your own email lists, this obviously goes too slow, so you want extra resources. Some of these tools are for free, but yet you've got to get creative here. It takes a lot of time. So sometimes you can check conferences in your sphere and just scrape the attendee lists. You can scrape the members of meetups. You can go to forum members, scrape those forum members. You can go to Twitter, scrape Twitter audiences. And what you have to do when you apply GrowthX, you have to combine different databases to get a more complete profile. So you start out with a Twitter handle of somebody, then you complete that data with his Facebook profile, then you try to find his email, then you try to connect all that to his LinkedIn, and then you try to enrich that profiles until you've got the holy grail, which is their name, their email, and what the hell they're doing. So if you're in B2B, I mean, for God's sakes, so use LinkedIn. Sales Navigator, I think it's $50, but it's like one of the most powerful tools out there. So I was just checking for cyber is key. Hey.
No, we just keep discussing legal issues because many of those things are kind of like not very legal. I mean, it's very difficult to use it in Poland because of the privacy law.
Yeah.
Because of those companies, they do not follow really the Polish law, because some of them are US, but even if they have databases in Europe, there is still very difficult to put it, because you have to have your privacy policy, which is booked like this for every company. And then you have to have the address of the server where all the data is located for each of those companies. So we are just, you know, it's...
I wouldn't sort of put this data in your own database, but for doing a first outreach, getting somebody's email to send them an email, I think it's perfectly fine. But I wouldn't like chuck it in your database to do something massive. But if that email is somewhere out there, these tools don't do any like illegal stuff. I think it's just combining different data sets. But LinkedIn, if you want to stay legal, is perfectly fine. Yeah. And for CyberSkey, I just got 600,000 leads. So that's I think it's enough for the coming month. And you have great extensions in LinkedIn. One of them is Email Hunter. So obviously it just scrapes the LinkedIn profiles on one page. It's an extension that lives in LinkedIn. It's approved by LinkedIn. And you just click one dot and boom, you've got 24 email addresses. So within maybe 10 minutes a day, I have 240 email addresses. I chuck it into my email drip campaign and boom, I'm up and running. So, Email Hunter. Another great one that also lives on top of LinkedIn is Prospectify. So if you use LinkedIn, choose Email Hunter or Prospectify. It is a bit, you would say, focused, but it's a very, very handy tool, and it's got a lot of integrations with other tools that you can use. Another one, if you're in B2B, is Clearbit. Just have a look at it. Also works with Optimizely, works with Stripe, Intercom. Just talk about this a bit later on. When you're reaching out to customers, also something we did with you guys, obviously there's no time to be doing this back and forward game about, hey, let's get on a call. Is Monday fine? Tuesday? No, Tuesday is not fine. Let's do Thursday. Thursday I can. Boom, boom, boom. When you're doing this massively, there's no fucking way you can do that. So use a goddamn scheduling tool for this. It's really important. That's why we sort of hammered down on doing this when you talk to so many mentors. So use Calendly, use You Can Book Me, or any other one connected to your Google Calendar. And then there's this one sweet link that you put in your drip campaigns that goes out to 1,000 startups, and Skype calls are automatically blended in the schedule. Works really, really good. For the guys, maybe Gallagher, Frisbit, that you have something to offer to people, something new, like a new marketing tool that re-engages with visitors that are not even on your website. So how awesome is that? With an 8% CTR. Or for all these frustrated Google Cardbox buyers that sort of throw away their glasses after they were looking at a roller coaster ride in a very low resolution. It's like being on the internet in the first days. It was very powerful, but we couldn't find what we were looking for, so it was 30 minutes wasted of our time. So Gallagher is at the stage. So good thing about, I took Frisbit as an example, but just type in marketing in Barcelona. There's like tons of meetups that already have 3,000 members. So instead of organizing something yourself, reach out to the organizer, say, hey, I'm this, we're doing that, boom. I made a keynote on the best marketing automation tools marketers can use in 2017. I'm dead sure the house will be full if you prepare a keynote. Obviously you can do that out of the top of your head, or do some research investigation, make an awesome keynote. I mean, it took me 3 hours, it will take you 3 hours. Contact the organizer, they're always looking for new stuff. Just don't pitch your startup, but do something generic and blend your own startup in there, right? Don't be too cocky. Eventbrite, so if you want to do a more exclusive event, I did this one for Muzzy, about re-engaging museum visitors, because from my problem interviews, I knew this was something that was top of their mind, so I used it in the tagline. I invited all the directors of the museums personally, so I made it more like a close kind of event, something exclusive, with a nice lunch, and boom, I had 10 museum directors in my office on the same day. So it saved me tons of time, and they really liked it, because they are out of their office, they're going to this exclusive event, you get them a lunch, with just a cheese sandwich, so not really expensive. Cybersecurity, here, so no VPN, I don't know who's in big data, but no, you can talk to these guys, tell them what you're doing, see who's there. Another one, very nice, we led web lead generation. I was on the Email Hunter website for this presentation, and I saw the same pop-up in I think 10 out of all the 100 startup tools that I was checking. Mm-hmm. So you can use the inspector if you see something nice happening on a website, saying, hey, this is nice actually for my own startup. Just go to Web Inspector, check the code. I mean, you guys are coders, hackers, and then boom, it's the Intercom launcher. So then you know the startup that is promoting this cool thing that you want on your own website. So use the inspector to find out new stuff. Same thing, another website. I clicked on this because I like the copy of this guy, he's very good. So the cheat sheet of 6 bonus ways to get more traffic to your webinar. So there's nobody in the world that doesn't want to know these fucking tricks. But his trick is that I click on it, and he's trying to get my bloody email. I love this guy. So I checked the inspector again, and again I saw somewhere that it's intercom.io. So again he's using this tool. So that's already 2 things that I like about Intercom, and that's how I select my own tools. And of course this is so awesome in UX person. So I'm already halfway there, so I only need to do one more thing. It's a really good conversion trick. So this is intercom.io. It's very, very expensive. I don't know if we get a discount from Startupbootcamp, but we have to check F60. And obviously, don't forget the most awesome guys out there. Frisbit. I mean, very expensive. But
work on discount.
If you want a discount, talk to me. I'll talk to the guys. I know the founder. Because I mean, obviously Intercom is a very expensive tool. So here you pay a shitload of money, but people have to be on the website to be able to engage with them. I think nobody still sees the power of this tool. People not being on your website, so Workola, a student made a project, did a project, but he's not interacting with your website on a daily basis. Now you've got this new project, and you know it's cool for them, so you send them an email. Obviously, it gets somewhere sunk down in their email boxes, they're not reacting. In the evening when they're doing their homework or whatever, and then boom, you re-engage with them with a customized message, even if they're not a Workola. So it's a very good way of attracting traffic. And I heard that they've got a great CTR, so give it a try, talk to the founders. Well, this is just another one, customer.io, just the same thing as Intercom, but I think they're a bit more cheaper. What I like about these things is if they're automated. So you can sort of make up your schedule. So if somebody's on a page too long, they're probably trying to get something done, but they're not succeeding in doing it. So then you say, okay, after 20 seconds, and if they scrolled more than half of the page, I'm sure they are not able to figure out how it should work. You can check your heat maps to verify this. You can call up a couple of customers to verify this, but then you can launch this kind of Intercom kind of pop-up, or customer.o kind of pop-up, reaching out saying, hey, how can I help you? Like interacting with customers, I think is the most valuable thing you can do. And if you have traffic, I would do that. Another great, it's a bit techy, bit kind of American-like website, SumoMe. It's very on top of you, but it's got some great tools that I like. There's this website takeover, so if you're too long on a website looking, checking out, it takes over full screen and says, now get the top 10 growth hacks in your email every week. Email address, boom. That's how you build an email list. So if you have traffic, it's coming and going on your website. But you're losing these customers every day. So if you have 2,000 visitors a day, and you have 10 email subscribers at the end of the month, you're doing something wrong from my perspective. So you try to convert anonymous traffic on your website to a list of people that you can have personal interactions with. The same thing, but cheap, is Hello Bar. The only disadvantage here, it's a growth hacker that made this. So he will bother you until the toll gates of hell, trying to sell his advanced marketing course on growth hacking. But if you're okay with that, then use Hello Bar. It's for free. So if you're into making stuff, still working on your UX, if you're on Illustrator, try Sketch. I think it's the best tool out there if you're making stuff for web or mobile. So it's not so much for graphic stuff, but for web and mobile, it's the best tool. And what I like about it, it's integrated with a tool called Marvel that you can use for quick prototyping. So I made some prototypes for Take a File. Took me an hour. Upload them to Marvel, and you can have something that you can use in the UX lab. If you are not very good in using vector illustrated programs like Sketch or Illustrator, there's another great tool called proto.io. So if you just want to test a small feature, you can use this to make something that resembles what you're trying to make, and then do the same thing. If you're already live on your website, Take a File, and you'd like to know if people understand your product, you can use something like doorbell.io and ask for feedback straight away on your website based on a couple of triggers. Very handy tool. Community building. So a couple of you guys don't have a product yet. So how do you show traction on demo day? Pretty hard? I don't think so. There's like 100,000 of startups out there that sell before they even made something. Kickstarter is full of projects that don't really exist, but they're just prototypes. Kickstarter is just a way of doing a validation experiment, seeing if you should build a product or maybe just leave it alone. This is something, I took this picture because I saw this cool VR glasses. You can type on a surface using your fingers in these holes. So in the air you can type something, because with the VR glasses you don't have any keyboard. So you can type into the air and it does something. It has a very cool video, but the product doesn't exist. But there's something called waitlist. When you push it, you get this. And you can build up your audience even before you launch a product. So if people like the promise, the value proposition that you have on your landing page, you use waitlist to create that list. And once you launch your product, maybe on demo day, whatever, then bam, all these people get the exclusive first-timer to be beta testers of your cool new product. Another way to do this is with review. Obviously, building an email list and making a newsletter for people is a very good way in building an audience already, but it takes tons of time. So we have like full-time people here running on, working on newsletters, and being a startup, you don't have that time. But for instance, for Galigoo, if there's like a landing page saying, okay, get the 10 best things in VR every week in your mailbox, you can test if people are really actively looking for VR content. It's just one very simple page, subscribe box, and it leads to review. With review, the cool thing is if you find something cool on VR, some new app or whatever, you can just add it to your newsletter with one click button, and then every Friday when you try to send out the newsletter, you check review, and you just select the items that you like. It just makes the newsletter in 5 minutes, automated, with a nice picture, nice title, text, and obviously in that newsletter you can also put your own things. So join our waitlist for our own product. And then bam, you're creating, from a list, you're creating another list. Even going further, there's something called Entourage, which is a very cool thing. What it actually does, it says, okay, join our waited list, you'll be the first beta user, but if you invite 5 more friends to our waitlist, you get a free Galigoo t-shirt. I mean, a t-shirt, maybe a cheap t-shirt is a couple of dollars, but if you get 5 more guys for the price of a t-shirt, t-shirt is maybe $5, that's $1 per extra email, and then people are wearing your branding when they go to bed, whatever, they probably wear it as a shirt to sleep or whatever. So probably people are saying, hey, where do you get the t-shirt? What is this Gali something thing? So it's a very awesome way of getting more attention. It could be a sticker, could be a pen, could be whatever. Some of you guys have some complicated products. Cyber skis sometimes can be hard to really grasp. Octobank maybe, depending on what you want to pitch. You know, sometimes a picture says more than 1,000 words, it's the same. I think a video sometimes says more than 10,000 words. So making a video is great. But if you make a video, then don't make a YouTube video. Why? Because if YouTube shows that on one day you have 500 viewers of your video, is that good or bad? Who thinks that's good, 500?
One day.
That's good, right? 500. That's good. Okay. But if your video that 500 people watched is 33 seconds with a call to action at the end, that's second number 43, like sign up for a newsletter. And 90% of the people stop watching the video after 20 seconds. Now how good were those 500 people viewing your video? Again. So, you see what I'm getting at. And what Wistia does, it shows you not only how many people view, but what they view. So what is their intensity, if they drop off after 20 seconds or whatever. So if they actually see your call to action. And if you have the call to action in the end, you can move it to the middle if you see they drop off at 20 seconds. Or you can change something in your video, edit it a little bit to see if it gets, if they really stick in watching the video. Anyways, if they only watch 20 seconds of your 43-second video, I think you should rewind and go back to your value proposition, because there's something wrong in your value proposition or in your messaging. Anyways, Wistia gives you more insight. If you don't have a video, there's a lot of platforms out there. DemoDuck is one of them. You pay them a lot of money. A video costs a lot of money, but sometimes it can be really worthwhile. If you don't have any money, then you can use VideoScribe. I think it's $39 a month. You make your video, you stop the subscription, and then you have a video for $39. So it's a whiteboard animation. So you click with little puppets, you make your storyline, you record a nice American voice underneath your video, and you've got your pro video. But if apart from having no money, you also have no time, so that really starts looking like a real startup. Then head over to Fiverr. That's a platform for 1 million small tasks that people are willing to do for $5. It's not as cheap as a mechanical Turk, but still. So I've just put in a video scribe, so that's actually the platform. And there's like tons of people from India, from I don't know, Asia, that will do anything for $5. So 39 for the platform, you stop the subscription, you pay $5 to this Indian guy, and you've probably got a shitty video, but it's something to start with. So if you want something better, you can go to Upwork. There's more pro kind of freelancers. Mind you, the people on Fiverr are also on Upwork. Just trying to see if you're willing to pay more money. So here you have to really check the quality of the freelancer, just as in Workola, you want to check the quality of the student. And a lot of these tools, these work on websites. So this requires JavaScript to add on your website. Now, the developers are freaking out now because they know JavaScript slows down your site, especially if it's not combined. So it can drive your developer nuts if CEO starts flaking around with the code. And you keep asking them for new JavaScript inserts. Now there's one cool thing out there, it's called Google Tag Manager. It's this container, I almost forgot it, but it rightly reminded me of this. It's a container that sits in your website. I think it's in the header or in the footer.
It's in the head tag.
It's in the head, okay. So that's where most JavaScript goes, so it loads before it actually loads a page. And the good thing about this is you can say, okay, just get me this container, and then the CEO can throw in any line of JavaScript code he wants in this container. And if the developer sees that the site is slowing down, then he can check the Google Tag Manager, see what kind of JavaScript is causing this load.
There's actually a preview option within the Tag Manager, so every time you add a tag, you can preview it yourself and see if everything's all right.
Okay.
So you like, it doesn't mean that you would feel the difference between the loading, but maybe if it's critical, then you would probably notice.
Okay. Yeah, don't forget in terms of checking page speed loads, that if your server is here and your customers are somewhere on the other side of the planet, that kind of result can be a bit biased. And so do that and use other tools to check the page speed loads from where traffic comes from. So check your Google Analytics. If most of your traffic comes from China, check the page load on a Chinese server. Yeah, and this one is really one of my favorites. So you've got all these cool tools out there. Sometimes they are integrated, sometimes there's not. But a lot of the startup tools out there are somehow connected with Zapier. Zapier is a kind of a middleware that a non-developer can use to hack and stack different tools together. And it will keep your developer, again, free of any extra work. So I think that's pretty cool. So the magic starts when you create a chain of tools that integrate with each other and create automatic flows of little campaigns. And what I like is that these campaigns are always on. So you spend the time once, a full day or full 2 days, but once you create a chain, it's always working for you. So then you can sort of stack the little hacks, and your traffic keeps on growing. So, for instance, if Cyberus and Deployit are B2B kind of companies trying to engage with prospects, seeing if these prospects are interested in the message that you're telling on your landing page or in your email, see if they really go from an email to a landing page, from a landing page say, hey, yeah, I like this, I'd like to schedule a Skype call, and you get in touch with them and really have a good conversation and can schedule a demo. That would be like a nice chain. This would be a possible way to do it. So you would buy LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you would put in software companies, somewhere between 51 and 200 employees, depending on the ideal customer profile that you've drawn. You've all got those. So you know all this stuff, you can chuck it in these kind of pieces of software. You get 600,000 results. You use Prospectify to sort of click and find their email addresses. You pump that automatically into a drip campaign tool like Reply. you make 4 emails, like that follow up with certain intervals, 24 hours, 48 hours. Then you make a Calendly thing connected to your Google Calendar to be able to make those Skype calls. And when somebody clicks on Calendly and actually makes a call, you use Zapier to message yourself on Slack that you've got, hey, we've got a new customer. You've got Slack on your laptops, you've got it on your mobiles, and you've got it always switched on, so you're always online with your own business. And then you have Zapier also put this prospect that now turned into a lead into your lead management system called GetBase. So now you have like a fully automated process that in a corporate takes like 3 or 5 departments to do this, done within one chain, and you just need one guy to start prospecting every day, like 10 to 20 new leads in 10 minutes, I would say, and then the whole chain works automatically. So, prospect in the morning, you do your calls in the afternoon, and it's a daily process, and in that way you should have like 3 to 4 qualified Skype calls every day. Being energy management, being cyber risk, I don't care, but B2B, this is the way to go. Another example, Gallagher, Frisbit, quite different, but yeah, if you want to create a potential user base that can become future users, in terms of Gallagher, you can organize a meetup on VR. You can do 2 different ones, one for people that have Google Glasses, and one for people that don't have and have interest, and one for content creators. You make one keynote, you make it a little bit different, and you create 3 meetups in 3 nights, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. Boom. You get the word out there, you reach out to these guys, you have them come there, and then afterwards you say, okay, we're launching this product, by the way, just sign up, and you collect your email through waitlisted. And you ask these members for their email while they're here, and you ask them you use Untorch to have them invite 5 friends to also be informed about this new Gallagher thing, get on the waitlist. This waitlist is connected with Review, so everybody that's on the waitlist waiting for your product, until your product launches, gets a free email newsletter of the best VR content out there every week on a Friday. That takes you about another 10 minutes. It's done automatically. Then you use grid email to contact these users for whatever purpose. So to invite them for problem interviews, to invite them for solution interviews, to invite them to come over to the office for your UX. But you reuse those contacts that you once created with 3 single meetups, and you try to grow that list. Then obviously, whatever gets into Review, you also automatically put into MailChimp. You won't use it right now, but once you launch your product, you want to do this one mass email. And then not use your newsletter anymore, but use something, a platform that's more used for massive email, like MailChimp. Then, of course, you connect it also to Zapier, so every time you have somebody new on the wait list, you get a Slack message. Why? Because sometimes you get a new user and you're just interested in reaching out to this guy and say, hey, I just saw you signed up for a wait list, I'm the founder, could we get on a short Skype call? I'm interested in learning if you're a new user, if you're an existing VR user, whatever. If you don't want to do that manually, you can enlarge this chain by using Typeform. So you would send them in the grid mail a little link to Typeform with 5 simple questions saying like, hi, I'd like to understand how you are using VR today. You ask them 5 little questions. And then you build up this database of information. And of course, stack the hacks. Once you have this chain already built, change something in the chain and create more volume. So this is the same chain that I just made for Gallagher with Frisbit, but the only thing I changed from a meetup, you also make a landing page that also says like, hey, blah, get on the wait list, and the rest of the chain is the same. Or you make a nice, everybody knows BetaList. Alright, so BetaList is the startup platform out there for new startups that launch new products, but they're not yet there. And what you do there is, instead of making a landing page and you having to drive traffic to that landing page, once you have your video, you use Optimizely to test the copy, the image, the video, the message, the call to action button, the whole shebang. But once it converts the way you like it, you understand your message, you understand your audience, you understand the image you need there, the video, whatever, and then you make your account on beta list and you create your product there. On beta list, basically you say, hey, we're this, we're doing that, check our video and subscribe to our beta once we're finished. And that's just another way of getting new users in while your product is not even finished. So
it's a website, people go to beta list to look for new products?
Like Product Hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need to be in the
But
website.
Product Hunt is when you launch and say, yeah, we're launching, this is the new stuff out there. So for me, the way to go in growth hacks is you create your audience, you create it on beta list, if we're talking about software. So you create it on beta list, and then when you go to Product Hunt, you use that huge audience that you have to email them straight away saying, yes, we're live now, we're going from beta straight away to live, and we're on Product Hunt. Why? Because you use this initial bump in traffic to grow the people that download your app or use your software when the day it's released on Product Hunt. When Product Hunt notices that, you get featured. When you get featured, you get noticed by the other Product Hunt people. So putting your page on Product Hunt or Kickstarter doesn't generate nothing, zilch. The only way you can generate traffic is by working it yourself and then using the platform to scale the little bit of traffic or the little bit of traction you got on a platform like Waitlist before. The same if you run a hardware kind of startup and you want to make something for consumers like No Limit, Upper Safe, when they make their box. You can use a platform like Kickstarter or Indiegogo the same way as a software startup uses beta list. So you say, okay, we're going to make this stuff, blah, blah, you can buy it now for a reduced price, this is the way it works, boom. And if you don't make the 20,000 metric that you said that you need at least, then you know your value proposition doesn't resound well with the audience and you better do something else with your startup. So beta list for software, Kickstarter, Indiegogo for hardware. And like I said, if you have a complicated product and you have a video, punch it on Wistia. The good thing about Wistia in comparison to YouTube as well, that it has this call to action in the video. So you can place it up front, in the middle, or at the end of the video. And sort of, okay, you like this, boom, call to action, then subscribe to our waitlist, whatever. Yeah, so we talked about a couple of these. So, yeah, we've been talking about experiments, making a falsifiable hypothesis. So maybe we can work in these kind of groups. Get your experiments cards out there, a quantifiable one, where you would like to use a chain of these tools. And let's try to come up with a way how to test these hypotheses, right? So a lot of these things, these tools you will use in growth hacks as well, but we can use them in validation experiments the same way, right? So that's why I sort of wanted to show you this already, since we had this worksheet.
Yeah, and I would say don't get sucked into thinking about the growth hacks right now. Remember, we're trying to test the critical assumptions in your business, the big things. So this is going to be stuff like, will people actually pay money for my product? It's a pretty fundamental assumption. Or will people come back for a second time? Might be a pretty fundamental assumption. So go and identify the assumptions that are critical to you, that you're not sure about, or that you need to convince other people of. And we'll design an experiment for them today. We can use the tools, but we're also not going to over-fetishize that we need to use as many tools as possible. We only use them when they're useful.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll give you guys about 45 minutes now to go and work on the exercises. There's templates on the table there, and we'll walk around and chat, and then we can set up these groups and get talking at about 11:35.
I'll leave this up here.